The starship Aurora drifted slowly towards Elthara, its hull gleaming under the light of 3 suns. Commander Elena Hayes watched the planet grow larger in the viewport. She had traveled to many worlds, but something about this one felt different. The atmosphere shimmered with colors she had never seen, and the clouds moved in strange, swirling patterns. Her team of scientists, engineers, and diplomats were eager to make first contact, but Elena felt a quiet tension. Inside the royal palace of Zeltara, Princess Liara paced her high balcony. She looked down at the shimmering landing pads where the humans had arrived. Her silver hair glimmered in the sunlight, and her violet eyes reflected both curiosity and suspicion. She had heard reports about the human species, stories that made her laugh in private. Ridiculous, she muttered. A species that survives in such primitive ways? Impossible. Liara had grown up hearing legends about other worlds, but humans were different. They had no ritualistic mating dances, no strict ceremonies to ensure the continuation of their kind. They reproduced in ways she considered chaotic, even reckless. She had openly expressed disbelief at these facts, and her counselors often warned her not to underestimate the humans. But Liara was stubborn, and curiosity ran deep in her veins. The humans stepped off the ship wearing their formal uniforms. Elena led the team, her posture confident yet respectful. Around her, the crew carried data pads, medical scanners, and gifts meant to honor the alien court. They had prepared for years to explain human culture, biology, and diplomacy, but nothing could have prepared them for the sharp eyes of Princess Liara. As they approached the palace, the alien guards eyed them warily. Their armor shimmered with strange patterns that shifted depending on the angle of light. Elena raised her hands in greeting, speaking in the universal translator. "We come in peace and with respect for your people. We hope to share knowledge and learn from each other." From the balcony, Liara raised her voice. "I do not believe a word of it." Her tone was sharp, echoing through the marble halls. "Your claims about reproduction, social bonds, and survival? Lies. How can you survive without structured mating rituals? Without proper ceremonies to bind your species?" Elena kept her calm, aware that the princess's reaction was not unusual. First impressions mattered, but so did patience. "Princess Liara," she said evenly, "we understand your skepticism. Our ways may seem strange to you, but our species has adapted through cooperation, intelligence, and resilience. We would like to show you, not just tell you." Liara narrowed her eyes. "Show me? You dare bring your chaos into my palace and expect me to believe it? Humans are simple animals pretending to be civilized." Her words cut through the air, and even the guards flinched slightly. Despite the princess's harsh words, the humans followed their plan. They presented a series of holographic displays, showing the life cycle of humans, their social structures, and the ways they cared for their young. Some members of the court leaned forward, intrigued. The scientists explained how humans built communities, shared resources, and taught their children cooperation from an early age. Liara's lips pressed together tightly. She refused to sit. She refused to nod. She would not give the humans the satisfaction of acknowledgement. But still, curiosity gnawed at her. Every holographic display contradicted everything she had believed about humans. Her mind tried to dismiss it, but deep down, she began to wonder if the humans were more than myths or exaggerations. The humans moved carefully, understanding the princess's pride and doubt. They spoke of emotional bonds, of empathy, and of problem-solving abilities that allowed humans to survive in the harshest environments. They did not brag, and they did not demand belief. Instead, they let evidence speak for itself. Liara glanced around at her counselors. Some whispered to each other, leaning closer to the displays. Even her advisor, the cautious Velon, gave a subtle nod. "Perhaps we should observe more," he said softly, a hint of concern in his voice. Liara's eyes flicked to him, sharp as daggers. Observation, yes, but belief? That was not so easy. The humans concluded their demonstration, but the tension in the hall did not fade. Elena bowed slightly. "We hope you will allow us to continue this exchange, Princess. There is much to learn from each other." Liara's voice rang out, firm and unyielding. "I will hear more, but lies I will not accept." She turned away from the balcony and walked down the hall, her thoughts in turmoil. The humans were clever, resourceful, and strangely persistent. Part of her admired them, but another part refused to admit it. She would need to see more, learn more, before she could ever consider believing their so-called facts. Outside, the Zeltharan sky burned with the light of three suns. Humans and aliens alike felt the weight of the moment. This was more than a meeting. It was the first step toward understanding, toward proving that human strength was not in ritual or ceremony, but in the resilience, intelligence, and courage that Liara could not yet fully grasp. And though she would never say it aloud, the princess felt a spark of curiosity she could not ignore. Rituals, but we have bonds and rules that are strong in their own way. Liara laughed, a sharp, cold sound that bounced against the crystal walls. Rules, bonds? These are meaningless if your young cannot even be taught proper lineage or tradition. Your species is chaos itself. She leaned forward slightly, her violet eyes gleaming with challenge. Tell me, how do you ensure your survival? How do you make certain your kind does not vanish into extinction? The humans remained calm. One of their scientists, Dr. Michael Trent, stepped forward and projected a holographic image showing human communities across different worlds. Villages, space colonies, and research stations appeared in the air. Children were seen learning, working together and helping each other through daily challenges. Adults built homes, solved problems, and cared for the weak and elderly. These are examples of how humans survive, Princess, Dr. Trent said. We do not rely on strict ceremonies. Our strength comes from teaching, cooperation, and flexibility. We adapt to environments, solve unexpected problems, and protect each other. Our bonds are not rituals, they are choices, and they are strong, the alien courtiers murmured among themselves. Some leaned forward, curiosity visible even through their formal alien expressions. Liara's jaw tightened. She refused to show any sign of being impressed. This is merely storytelling, she snapped. Images and explanations cannot prove your methods. How do I know these are not staged or exaggerated? How do I know your species does not fail frequently and quietly? Commander Elena stepped closer, her calm authority filling the space. You are right to doubt, Princess, but we do not ask for blind belief. Observe us, interact with us, and see how we live. Evidence does not lie. Over time, you will understand our ways better than any story or image can explain. Liara's eyes narrowed. Part of her wanted to dismiss them entirely. Another part, deeper inside, felt a flicker of curiosity she could not fully recognize. She could not believe that such a simple-looking species could survive across countless worlds. Yet here they were, standing calmly, unafraid, and capable of explaining their strength with logic, evidence, and action. The audience continued with demonstrations of human life. The humans presented simulations of emergencies and how communities responded. They showed how they cared for the sick, shared resources during scarcity, and educated each new generation with both science and ethics. Each example challenged the princess's beliefs as human skill and resilience firsthand. Meanwhile, the humans quietly observed the palace life, noting the differences in culture, protocol, and social hierarchy. Elena spoke softly to her team. Princess Liara is skeptical, but curiosity is a start. We must continue to show respect and patience. Strength is not in confrontation. It is in proving ourselves through action. That evening, the palace shone under the light of Zelthara's three suns as the humans returned to their temporary quarters. Liara watched from her balcony, alone now thinking about what she had seen. Every explanation, every demonstration had challenged her worldview. She did not yet believe the humans, but she could not deny that their presence demanded attention, observation, and thought. For the first time, Liara realized that survival was not always about strict rules or ceremonies. Sometimes it was about adaptability, intelligence, and courage. The humans had already begun to plant seeds of doubt and fascination in her mind. The next day promised more demonstrations, more evidence, and perhaps a step closer to understanding. Liara did not yet admit it, but the humans had begun to capture her attention. Their challenge was subtle, but it was real. To prove that human strength came not from ritual, but from the choices they made, the bonds they formed, and the courage they carried within. The palace, grand and ancient, now held more than just alien tradition. It held the first whispers of human ingenuity, waiting to test the princess's disbelief. The day began with a quiet tension in the palace. Princess Liara sat in her private chambers, staring out at the alien gardens below. The humans had made their point yesterday, showing images and demonstrations of how their species survived without strict rituals. Liara's pride resisted admitting it, but curiosity gnawed at her. She had spent her entire life believing that only structured rules and ceremonies could ensure survival. And the humans seemed to thrive without them. Down in the Grand Hall, Commander Elena and her team prepared a new demonstration. Today they would go beyond images. They would show the humans' ingenuity in action. Small mechanical devices, robotic drones, and survival simulations were ready. The humans wanted to prove that their strength was not just in theory, but in practical problem-solving, teamwork, and adaptability. Liara entered the hall, her presence commanding silence. "Show me," she demanded. "Show me how your species survives in real situations, not stories." Her voice carried authority, but beneath it, a hint of anticipation betrayed her skepticism. Elena nodded. "As you wish, Princess. Watch closely." She activated the first simulation. A human settlement under a sudden crisis. A holographic asteroid storm threatened a small colony, and the humans in the simulation had to act fast. They coordinated teams, repaired structures, and protected the young and elderly. Every decision was calculated, every action efficient. The aliens in the hall murmured in surprise. Liara's eyes narrowed, but she could not hide her astonishment. Humans, even in simulation, solved complex problems quickly and effectively. They showed creativity, teamwork, and courage. The princess had expected chaos, yet she saw precision. Next, the humans demonstrated their resourcefulness. A small device projected images of barren planets where humans had settled. With minimal supplies, they built habitats, created food sources, and generated energy from the environment. Liara leaned forward slightly, curiosity flickering in her eyes. She had never imagined a species could adapt so quickly to hostile conditions without rigid rules or strict supervision. One of the humans, Dr. Mikael Trent, stepped forward. "Princess, our species does not rely on ceremonies to survive. We rely on observation, learning, and adaptation. Every challenge we face teaches us something new. We do not fear failure. We learn from it. That is how we endure." Liara's lips pressed tightly together. She refused to respond, but inside her mind was racing. If humans could thrive in these conditions, then everything she had believed about survival, structure, and discipline might be wrong. She had spent years trusting only what her people's traditions taught, but now, the evidence before her challenged every assumption. The humans moved to another demonstration. This time it involved social cooperation. A holographic village displayed humans interacting with each other in daily life. Parents taught children, friends helped the elderly, and communities solved disputes through discussion rather than strict enforcement. Liara watched silently as humans showed empathy, negotiation, and problem-solving. These were qualities she had thought unnecessary, but they were undeniably powerful. Even the Royal Council began to whisper among themselves. Some members leaned closer, captivated by what they saw. Valon, Liara's advisor, studied the demonstrations with careful attention. "Your species," he murmured, "is remarkable. Perhaps there is more than we realized." Liara's sharp gaze cut through him, reminding him that she had not yet changed her mind. The final demonstration was the most daring. Humans simulated a natural disaster in a hostile environment. Rocks tumbled, rivers overflowed, and temperatures fluctuated dangerously. Yet the humans in the simulation worked together to protect each other, repair structures, and maintain order. They showed quick thinking, courage, and adaptability beyond what any rigid ceremony could teach. Liara's heart raced. She did not want to admit it, but humans were not simple or weak. They were clever, resourceful, and strong in ways she had never considered. Her skepticism clashed with her growing admiration. For the first time, she realized that survival was not just about following rules. It was about thinking, adapting, and working together. When the demonstrations ended, Elena bowed slightly. "We hope these examples show the strength of our species, Princess. We do not ask for belief. We ask only for observation and understanding." Liara rose from her throne, her eyes still sharp but thoughtful. "I see now that your species is more capable than I imagined. Yet I remain cautious. Seeing is not believing completely. Actions speak louder, and I will continue to watch." The humans nodded, understanding her caution. They had planted seeds of doubt, curiosity, and respect. That was enough for now. In the coming days, they would continue to show their ingenuity and resilience. And perhaps slowly, Liara would begin to understand the true strength of humanity. As the humans left the hall, the princess lingered, gazing at the simulations one last time. A spark of respect had formed in her mind. She still shouted lies when pressed, but now, a small part of her wondered if maybe, just maybe, these humans were telling the truth. Outside, the triple suns of Zelthara cast long shadows across the palace gardens. The humans had begun to prove themselves not through tradition or ceremony, but through intellect, courage, and unity. Liara knew she would have to watch them closely. Their ingenuity was undeniable, and soon, she might have to admit that humans were not just visitors, they were a force to be reckoned with. The following morning, the humans arrived at the palace with a new proposal. Commander Elena Hayes led her team into the Grand Hall, carrying small containers, devices, and holographic projectors. Princess Liara sat on her throne, her expression cool and calculating, though a flicker of curiosity lingered in her violet eyes. She had seen the humans' ingenuity yesterday, but she refused to admit even to herself that they impressed her. "We wish to propose a demonstration, Princess Liara," Elena began. "Not through simulations this time, but through real actions. A controlled environment where our species' abilities can be observed firsthand. We do not ask for belief. We ask only for permission to show what humans can do." Liara's lips pressed together. She considered the request carefully. Allowing humans to operate in a controlled experiment was risky, yet she could not deny that her curiosity demanded it. She leaned forward slightly. Ver. Her violet eyes narrowed as she scrutinized every detail. The demonstration began with a sudden challenge. A simulated storm swept across the area, toppling shelters and flooding small sections. Human participants quickly organized themselves. Teams worked together to repair structures, redirect water flow, and ensure that every member, young, old, and vulnerable, was safe. Every decision was deliberate yet fluid, responding to the situation as it evolved. Liara could not hide her amazement. She had expected confusion, perhaps panic. Instead, she saw order, strategy, and rapid thinking. The humans communicated efficiently, using both words and gestures, anticipating problems before they occurred. For the first time, she felt that their survival strategies might indeed be superior to rigid ceremonies. Dr. Mikkel Trent stepped forward, explaining the humans' decisions as they unfolded. "Our species relies on adaptability, Princess. We observe, learn, and act. Challenges do not intimidate us, they teach us. We protect each other not because of rituals, but because it is the right choice and the logical one for survival." Liara's gaze shifted from the humans to her advisors. Some whispered in astonishment, leaning closer to observe. Even Valon, usually cautious and reserved, looked impressed, though he remained silent. Liara's pride burned inside her. She did not want to admit she was wrong, yet every action the humans took challenged her deepest beliefs. The next phase involved cooperation under scarcity. Food and resources were deliberately limited. The humans worked together to ration supplies, create new food sources, and maintain morale. They taught each other skills quickly, improvising tools and methods from whatever materials were at hand. Liara noticed that the participants' morale stayed high. No arguments broke out, no panic took over. Instead, efficiency, empathy, and problem-solving ruled every interaction. A sudden complication arose. A simulated breach in the water supply threatened the colony. Humans rushed to act, dividing tasks, prioritizing the most critical problems, and using their knowledge to solve the issue before any harm could occur. Liara held her breath. She had expected chaos, yet the humans responded with calm intelligence and coordination. Elena addressed the princess. "Princess Liara, these actions are not extraordinary because of rituals or ceremonies. They are extraordinary because our species trusts logic, teamwork, and moral responsibility. We do not rely on tradition to survive. We rely on choice, observation, and courage." Liara's hands clenched. She did not speak, but her thoughts raced. She had lived in a world where ceremonies, hierarchies, and strict rules defined every success. Yet here, humans demonstrated that survival and strength could exist without those structures. Their ingenuity, adaptability, and courage shone brighter than any ceremony she had ever known. The final part of the demonstration was the most daring. A sudden simulated fire erupted in one corner of the colony. Humans immediately organized teams to contain it, evacuate the young and vulnerable, and prevent the spread. Some individuals risked themselves to rescue others, showing bravery and selflessness. Liara's chest tightened. She had never expected to see such coordinated heroism from a species she considered primitive. When the demonstration ended, Elena stepped forward again. Princess Liara, our people do not ask for blind acceptance. We only show what we are capable of. We hope these actions speak for themselves. Liara remained silent, her mind in turmoil. She could no longer dismiss the humans as chaotic or weak. Their actions had proven adaptability, intelligence, and courage, qualities she had long believed were only possible through strict tradition. She had yet to fully admit it aloud, but her skepticism had begun to waver. The humans left the enclosure, their demonstration complete. Liara stood alone on the balcony, watching the remnants of the miniature colony. For the first time, she realized that survival was not always about ceremony or rigid rules. Sometimes it was about observation, adaptability, courage, and cooperation. Humans, in their strange and unconventional ways, possessed all of these traits in abundance. That evening, Liara returned to her chambers, her mind restless. She replayed every action, every choice, every moment of bravery she had witnessed. She could not deny that humans were remarkable, but pride prevented her from openly admitting it. Still, a spark of respect had taken root. She had begun to see that perhaps the humans were not just visitors, they might be allies, teachers, or even equals. As the three suns of Zelthara set in the sky, Liara understood one truth. The humans' challenge was not in their words, nor their stories, nor even their strange biology. The real challenge was their ingenuity, their courage, and their ability to thrive in ways she had never imagined. And she knew that the next days would reveal even more about this extraordinary species. The day started like any other, but an uneasy tension hung over the palace. Early morning alarms echoed through the halls as scouts reported movement near the outer perimeter. A rival alien faction, long jealous of Princess Liara's rule, had begun a surprise attack. The humans, who had been observing the palace and demonstrating their ingenuity, immediately prepared to help defend it. Princess Liara stood on her balcony, violet eyes wide with disbelief. She had always prided herself on the strength of her palace defenses, yet the humans were already organizing plans faster than any alien commander she had ever known. Their calm and methodical approach contrasted sharply with the panic she had expected from outsiders. Commander Elena Hayes quickly assessed the situation. Princess, our team can help organize your defenses. We can work with your soldiers, plan strategies, and protect your people. Liara's pride flared. I do not need outsiders to tell me how to defend my home, she shouted. But even as the words left her lips, she could see the humans already moving into action. Their efficiency and confidence left her no room for delay. Elena's team divided responsibilities immediately. They analyzed the palace layout, pointed out vulnerable positions, and coordinated groups of guards and palace engineers. Humans worked side by side with alien soldiers, offering tactical advice, building barricades, and setting traps. Liara watched, torn between skepticism and admiration. The rival faction arrived sooner than expected. Alien ships hovered menacingly above the palace, firing energy beams that shook the grounds. Panic threatened to spread among the palace inhabitants, but the humans acted swiftly. They deployed emergency protocols, organized evacuation routes, and reinforced weak points in the defenses. Liara, usually composed, found herself moving among her people, giving orders while secretly observing the humans. One young human engineer climbed to a damaged platform and, with precise movements, repaired a structural beam that had begun to collapse. Another human medic guided Zeltharan soldiers in treating injured allies, explaining procedures clearly and calmly. The humans' courage shone most brightly when a fire broke out near one of the outer walls. Without hesitation, human volunteers ran into the flames to rescue trapped guards and civilians. Liara's heart raced as she realized, intact, and the humans had proven themselves not just in theory, but in the chaos of real battle. When the dust settled, Liara walked among the humans, her expression thoughtful. She looked at Elena, whose calm determination had helped save countless lives. Your species is remarkable, Liara admitted, her voice quieter than usual. I cannot deny your bravery, your intelligence, and your ability to adapt under pressure. Elena nodded respectfully. We do not seek praise, Princess. Our goal is to show that humans can work together, face challenges, and protect others. We act not for glory, but because it is necessary. Liara reflected on the lesson. The humans had survived and triumphed not because of ceremony or rigid tradition, but because of their ingenuity, courage, and moral responsibility. She realized that she had underestimated them at every step. dismissing their abilities based on assumptions about their culture. Now she understood that strength could take many forms, some far beyond her prior understanding. Veylan, her advisor, approached cautiously. "Princess, perhaps it is time to reconsider your views on humanity. They have proven themselves beyond any doubt." Liara's gaze softened slightly. She did not speak immediately, but in her heart she knew he was right. The humans had survived challenges she thought they could not, and they had done so with ingenuity and courage. That evening, the palace was calm once more. Liara stood on her balcony, watching the triple suns dip below the horizon. She thought about the humans, their actions, and their courage. She had shouted lies in disbelief, yet now she realized that their survival, their bonds, and their strength were not lies, they were undeniable truth. In that quiet moment, Liara understood that the humans were more than visitors or curiosities. They were allies, capable of teaching her people new ways of thinking, acting, and surviving. The attack had tested their courage, their intelligence, and their unity, and they had passed with honor. Liara's mind was restless, but something had shifted. Her skepticism had begun to transform into respect. She still had much to learn, but one thing was clear. Humans were not to be dismissed. They were strong, clever, and courageous, and their strength would become an important part of her world's future. The battle was over, but the true test, the test of trust, understanding, and cooperation, was only just beginning. The palace was quiet the morning after the battle, but tension still lingered. Princess Liara walked through the halls, her mind heavy with thoughts of the humans. She had witnessed their courage, intelligence, and adaptability firsthand during the attack, yet she still struggled to fully accept what she had seen. Her pride and skepticism had been strong for so long that even undeniable proof was difficult to embrace. Commander Elena Hayes and her team were summoned to the throne room. Liara stood at the front, her violet eyes observing every detail. "Humans," she began, her voice steady but controlled. "You have proven skill, courage, and intelligence. Yet I am told there is more about your species, your ways of life, and your reproduction." She paused, deliberately choosing her words. "I have heard stories. I have shouted lies, I have doubted. And yet I feel that there is truth in your actions that words cannot fully express." Elena inclined her head respectfully. "Princess, we understand your doubt. Words alone cannot prove our ways. But if you wish, we are willing to show you directly, through observation and action, how our species survives, reproduces, and thrives. You will see that we are not myths nor exaggerations, but a species built on choice, courage, and cooperation." Liara's lips pressed together tightly. She had long refused to believe human claims, considering them ridiculous, and yet a part of her, a part she could not ignore, felt curiosity stirring deep inside. She nodded. "Very well. You may show me. But understand this. If any deception exists, I will not forgive it." The humans led her to a controlled environment, a small but fully functional human colony recreated within a secure palace compound. The colony included families, communal areas, and even young children. Humans demonstrated daily life, teaching, working, problem-solving, and caring for one another. Liara watched closely, her mind analyzing every movement, every interaction. She could not deny the care humans showed for each other. Children were nurtured, educated, and encouraged to learn. Adults collaborated efficiently, resolving conflicts without strict enforcement or rigid hierarchy. Even the elderly were respected and integrated into community life. The humans worked through challenges together, relying on observation, adaptability, and moral choice rather than ritual or ceremony. Liara's skepticism began to falter. She observed a young human father guiding his child through a task, explaining, encouraging, and patiently correcting mistakes. She saw mothers and neighbors supporting one another, sharing resources and ensuring the safety and well-being of everyone in the colony. These actions were not the result of rules or ceremonies. They were the product of intelligence, empathy, and practical morality. Suddenly, a small emergency was simulated. A portion of the colony's water supply began to fail. Without hesitation, humans organized teams to identify the problem, repair the supply, and redistribute water efficiently. Every decision was logical, rapid, and effective. Liara could feel her heart quicken. She had always believed survival required strict procedures, but here was a species thriving without them. solving problems in real time with ingenuity and cooperation. Dr. Mikael Trent approached, noticing her attentive gaze. Princess Liara, humans survive not because of ceremonies but because we observe, learn, and choose. We face challenges directly, adapt quickly, and care for one another. Strength comes from these choices, not tradition. Liara swallowed hard. Pride struggled against the truth, but she could no longer dismiss the evidence. Humans were clever, resourceful, and moral. Their strength was undeniable. Her disbelief, once loud and fierce, now sounded hollow in her own mind. The final part of the demonstration was both intimate and revealing. Humans explained and displayed their reproductive facts openly, showing how they reproduced, nurtured their young, and ensured the survival of their species. Liara watched in silence, her violet eyes wide. The methods were different from her own culture's rituals, yet they were effective, logical, and humane. Humans survived and thrived not by ceremony, but by cooperation, teaching, and careful attention to the next generation. For the first time, Liara spoke softly, almost to herself. It is true. Everything I thought was impossible is real. She looked at Elena, her voice trembling slightly with honesty. I shouted lies, yet you have shown me the truth. Your species is remarkable. Your ways are beyond what I imagined. Elena bowed slightly. We are grateful for your honesty, Princess. Our goal has always been to show that humans are strong not because of ritual or ceremony, but because of choice, intelligence, and moral courage. You now understand that our survival is built on these principles. Liara stood quietly for a moment, reflecting on everything she had seen. She thought of the battle, the demonstrations, and the careful care humans had shown for each other. Her skepticism had transformed into respect. She had doubted, shouted, and resisted, yet now she realized that humans were not only capable, they were extraordinary. Turning to her advisors, Liara spoke with renewed conviction. We will learn from them, not only their technology or skills, but their ways of thinking, cooperating, and surviving. They have proven that strength comes in forms we did not expect. The humans had completed their ultimate test. Liara's disbelief had been confronted, challenged, and overcome. She no longer shouted lies or dismissed them as myths. She understood in a profound and personal way that humans were clever, resilient, and moral, a species whose strength lay in their choices, their courage, and their unity. As the triple suns of Zelthara set across the horizon, Liara looked at the humans, a new respect shining in her eyes. For the first time, she could see them as equals, as partners, and as a species worthy of admiration. The challenge of disbelief had ended, and a new chapter of understanding and cooperation had begun. The palace of Zelthara was alive with movement, yet the atmosphere felt different now. There was no tension, no harsh distrust, only a quiet energy of curiosity, cooperation, and cautious optimism. Princess Liara walked through the grand halls, her violet eyes observing humans and Zeltharans working together. What had once seemed impossible, the alliance of two species, was now unfolding before her. Humans and Zeltharans collaborated to repair the palace defenses, rebuild the damaged gardens, and restore the areas affected by the recent attacks. The humans moved with confidence and efficiency, offering guidance where needed and respecting the alien traditions while introducing their own methods of problem-solving. Liara watched, noting how seamlessly they integrated, not demanding dominance but earning trust through action. Commander Elena Hayes approached the princess. Princess Liara, she said gently, our species does not need ceremonies or rituals to survive, but we do value honor, respect, and partnership. We hope to continue learning from each other and helping your people in any way we can. Liara studied her carefully. The battles had taught her much, but the humans' daily actions revealed a deeper truth. Their survival was not dependent on rigid rules. It came from courage, intelligence, and the willingness to protect one another. She nodded slowly. I have seen your actions and I have understood your ways. I admit now that I judged too quickly, relying on my pride and old assumptions. You are a species capable of far more than I imagined. The humans smiled, but it was not pride that shone on their faces. It was quiet satisfaction, knowing that their truth had been recognized. Elena gestured to the palace grounds where children played together, humans and Zeltharans side by side, sharing games and laughter. Liara could not help but smile faintly at the sight. This union, born of curiosity, respect, and courage, was stronger than any she had expected. Liara spent the afternoon walking among the humans, observing their interactions. She saw parents teaching children, communities solving problems through discussion and cooperation, and leaders making careful decisions based on observation rather than decree. Everything she had once considered chaotic now seemed purposeful, meaningful, and powerful. Later, she summoned her council to a meeting. "We have much to learn from these humans," Liara said firmly. "Their strength is not in ceremony or ritual, but in choice, courage, and unity. We will integrate their methods where appropriate, and we will honor their contributions. I no longer doubt their abilities. They are our allies and perhaps our teachers." Valen, her trusted advisor, nodded. "Princess, they have shown us that survival does not always require tradition. Adaptation, intelligence, and moral courage can be equally powerful. This is a lesson we will not forget." The humans in turn shared knowledge of their technology, their problem-solving methods, and their strategies for building communities. They did not demand recognition or dominance. They offered partnership. Liara recognized that this was part of their strength, the ability to teach, to assist, and to survive through cooperation and respect. As the suns of Zelthara began to set, casting long shadows across the palace gardens, Liara walked to the balcony overlooking the city. The humans were helping Zeltharan engineers build new structures, repair old ones, and plan for the future. Children laughed, elders smiled, and the palace itself seemed brighter, alive with the spirit of collaboration. Liara reflected on the journey. She had shouted lies and disbelief, doubted the humans, and resisted their teachings. Yet now she understood that her skepticism had been a challenge, a test not for them, but for herself. They had proven through actions, intelligence, and courage that humans were a species worthy of respect, partnership, and admiration. Turning to Elena, Liara said quietly, "You have shown me the truth of your people. I was wrong to doubt you. I now see humans as equals, worthy allies and capable beings. Your courage, your intelligence, and your moral strength have changed my understanding." Elena bowed slightly. "Thank you, Princess Liara. We are honored to have earned your respect. Our goal has always been to show our capabilities to survive and to form alliances built on trust and understanding." Liara smiled, a genuine warmth in her expression. "Then let this day mark the beginning of a new era. Humans and Zeltharans will learn from each other, protect each other, and build a future together. Let our differences strengthen us rather than divide us." As night fell and the 3 moons rose in the sky, Liara remained on the balcony, watching the humans interact with her people. She realized that survival was not just about tradition or ceremony. It was about courage, intelligence, adaptability, and moral choice. Humans had proven that strength could come in many forms, and their ways would become a vital part of her world. For the first time, Princess Liara felt a deep sense of respect, trust, and hope. The humans were no longer outsiders. They were allies, teachers, and friends. Their truth had been revealed, and her disbelief had been transformed into understanding. Together, the 2 species would face the future, stronger than ever, united by curiosity, courage, and the shared determination to survive and thrive. And so, the Palace of Zelthara became a place of learning, respect, and collaboration. Humans and Zeltharans walked side by side, not as strangers but as partners. Liara knew that this alliance would endure, a testament to the ingenuity, courage, and moral strength of humanity. The journey of disbelief had ended, and a new era had begun.